Hello, everyone. We are back for another episode with Have Faith, Let It Begin. Joining us in studio today will be Matt H. as we talk about nothing to something. If you haven't had a chance to listen to episodes, the first part of our episode, which is all about learning a little bit about the show, today we're going to get into what and who is Matt H. and how nothing to something began. And that's all going to happen here today. Thank you for joining us. Let's get started. Have Faith, Let It Begin starts right now. All right, we're back on the air with Have Faith, Let It Begin in studio. To my left on my side, but probably to his right on his side. I don't know how Zoom works. Matt H., welcome back to another episode. How you doing, buddy?
Great. Thanks for having me. It's crazy being here and being able to do this with you. It's a blessing.
It's weird, right? Because it's like we know each other. We do other things like youth group, and we've been in church surroundings, but here we are doing like career work. it's
weird. It's weird. It's like it's a flip flop.
Yeah, we're both our own bosses.
Exactly.
So, for all of you that have just joined us today on part 2, and you're probably thinking, part 2, where's part 1? Well, you got to go back. Go back to part 1. We talk about nothing to something. We sat down with Matt H. And the thing about it is we talked a little bit about your show. We described to the audience what you bring to the table. You're going to be dealing with different types of topics, whether it's dealing with depression, dealing with suicidal thoughts, and more things to come. You already got 5 to 6 episodes in by now, and we want to go behind the curtain today. We talked about the show yesterday. We want to go behind the curtain, and we want to talk about Matt H., the person. You're still in high school, and one of the things I wanted to talk about today was, where do you see nothing to something? I know that when I did my show, about 20, 30 episodes in, I said, where am I going to be in 3 to 5 years? So I guess my first question for you today is, where do you see Matt H. in 2 to 3 years? That's part A. And then where do you see nothing to something? Where would you like to see that?
That's a really good question. I think for me, I want to see myself going to college and studying what I want to study, which is nursing. And I want to be able to get my degree and become an RN, a registered nurse, and eventually work at St. Luke's and have my bachelor's paid for while I'm getting a full salary. But that's like my dream. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but my goal is to become a nurse. For nothing to something, I honestly have no clue where I want to be in 3-4 years with it. It's I'm surprised I even got like this far in a matter of a week, 2 weeks. So
okay.
I think my overall my overall goal would be just to maybe have over like 1,000 views, not per episode, but just in total, only because I just want to reach more people. And I always felt like when I reached out to my friends about this stuff, they're like, oh, I never knew. And I said, yeah. And then when I talked to you about podcasting, I was like, well, this is a cool avenue I can take to reach everyone around the world about it.
And kudos to you, because at the end of the day, your job and your focus has always been to change the world. Just like our motto here is that have faith, let it begin. It is setting the tempo, which is saying, okay, I want to, touch the life of one person. If it meant one person per episode, you're doing that now. Your views are up. People are reaching you. Your subscriptions and your followers are going to they are climbing. So because they're climbing, you're doing your goal. So that's amazing to me. That's a testimony to you and what you bring to the table. As far as talking about nursing, we're in a pandemic right now. That's obviously why we're not in studio together or in one room, right? I was actually going to ask you this later, but since you touched base on being an RN, how is it like being in a student now in this COVID world / because your show deals with depression and all that, how do you balance all that?
The balance isn't very easy. It's a very fine line, and you have to definitely, walk it very carefully. For me, it's really just faith. You got to have faith in what you do. If you don't trust what you do, if you can't trust yourself, then you really can't trust what anyone else is trying to help you with. I know for me, the depression part was definitely hard in school. It definitely dropped my grades and, it did a bunch of other stuff. And then, after fixing it, laziness became a big part of it. And then, grades dropped again. But it's always trying to find that balance of, do I want to work hard at what I do and get good grades, or do I want to slack off and not do as well as I know I can do, but have fun? So for me, I think it's not very easy to do it, but overall it's doable. It's not impossible. Everyone has the ability to go through this and come out of it, better than they were before. So that's my take on it.
And that makes a lot of sense. You know, what's interesting is that we talk about the pandemic, and yeah, once again, we're talking to Matt H from Nothing to Something. It's a podcast. It's available to you at all platforms. We definitely want you to subscribe and follow. And one of the things we're talking about is the pandemic, and he's still a senior in high school. And what should be the greatest time of your high school year, you're at home, you're studying from home. I think for myself, being a graduate of 1997, that era, I think that I went through a depression then and didn't even realize it.
Hmm.
And dealing with, well, knowing now what I didn't know then, I probably could have used more help. I probably would have been more use. It would have been more useful if I had somebody else I could confide in. And
Hmm.
you seem to be doing that at an earlier age. And when I mean by earlier age, because obviously we were about the same age when we were in high school. I mean,
Yeah.
you've tackled this 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 storm. I call them storms on my show. You're talking about depression on yours, so we'll call it hand in hand.
Yeah.
My question to you is, where do you feel you are today than you were, let's say, when you were a freshman?
That's a really good question. When I was a freshman, I basically started my therapy, and I was pretty much at ground zero then. I mean, I didn't have many friends. They kind of all ditched me in middle school, because they were like, "Oh, I want to be popular. I want to be with popular kids, do all the drugs and all that, terrible stuff." But I was like, I didn't want to be that, and that set me apart, and that's why nobody wanted to be my friend. And I'm not saying this to make people like, oh, sympathetic for me or whatever.
No, I get
Um,
it. I get it. I get it.
yeah.
Because just to point out real quick, when I was in eighth grade, I was a president of the sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, and I was popular. I at least I like to think I was. But then I went to freshman year, and it was like, whoa, you're like nothing. And I mean that
Hmm.
respectfully. You just feel like
Yeah.
you're starting over, and the friends that you had, they're just hanging out with 11th graders and 12th graders, and people are starting to they just kind of fan away.
They disappear.
Yeah.
So for me, I kind of took that um, way of thinking and flipped it around. I didn't want to. I didn't want to be nothing and go through my whole high school career nothing. I wanted to be something. Um, so I basically took it as, I gotta step up what I'm doing. And yes, school is gonna be hard and finding new friends is gonna be hard. But if I just act like everyone else and act so sorry for myself and that, oh, I don't have any friends, well, then I'm not gonna get anywhere. I'm not gonna feel good about myself and I'm not gonna like what I'm doing. So I decided to flip that around and work with myself before I worked with anyone else. And little did I know, sharing my story with my friends actually helped them get through tough times. Like, I've stopped a few people from killing themselves, so I didn't even know they were like that.
Wow.
I did that maybe 2 to 3 times, and they're like, "Yeah, I was very close until you came in." And I was like, "Really? I thought you were fine. I had no clue." And they go, "Yeah, but if you weren't here, I would have I wouldn't be here right now." So it really hit me hard that I really got to do something good, and that's kind of where this podcast came in now.
Wow. And what I found interesting, for those of you that didn't or haven't had a chance to listen to the show, I don't want to spoil anything, but I really think it'd be smart to touch base on this. What really powerfully moved me, that shook me to the core in my seat when I'm listening to your show, was that you announced to everybody that you were a bully.
Yeah, I was a really big bully.
I find that hard to believe, because the Matt H I know was not is I don't even associate that word with you. Walk me through something like that, just a little bit.
um it's it was hard to get out my feelings when I was a little kid. I was never able to express it, kind of like, oh, my brothers would say, oh, I feel this way, I feel that way. For me, it was just kind of be angry and take it out on them. So I hurt them a lot, and I hurt them both physically and mentally, and I regret that beyond belief. But when I got to school, I started treating everyone the same. I didn't, actually, hurt them and, hit them and stuff, but I treated them unkindly with words. And that's probably why I lost a lot of people that I was close with. And realizing that now, I wish, yes, I wouldn't have done that. But now that I have done that, I can change to make myself better and not realize that I'm not like that anymore. I can totally be something I want to be now.
Quick question for you. So, just to reiterate something, and I'm not trying to pound this home, but I'm just want to make sure I understand. And again, we're
Yeah.
talking to Matt H from Nothing to Something. Great podcast. Follow and subscribe to this new up and coming podcast. You described yourself as a bully, which I still, it's hard to even
Mhm.
say that word with your name.
Yeah.
Where at any point in time where you did you ever were you ever bullied, or were you always the bully?
No, I've been bullied. Totally.
Was that before or after you changed? I'm just
That
curious.
was kind of in between. When I was bullying people, for me, people saw that and started getting angry at me. So, cause and effect. I get angry at them, and it's just step after step after step
Right.
until I eventually just cut it off. And I was like, I'm done with this. Then I realized I should be done with myself being a bully, and that's basically what flipped my whole mindset. But yes, I was bullied. Um, no, it's not fun, but yes, it's pretty easy to ignore, but you have to do more than just ignore.
Mm,
You have to face the problem, realize that it is a problem, and go through with your life and just realize, hey, they were my best friend, but if they're bullying me, were they ever really your best friend? You have to realize the connection there. Like, I don't think they're your best friend if they are bullying you, because yes, there's teasing and joking and stuff, but
right.
if they're really hurting your feelings, I don't think they're in it for the long run. That's just my opinion. I don't
Mhm.
know if anyone else thinks that way. That's how I think. I don't want to force on anyone else listening to the show,
Right.
but that's how I felt about it.
Which, by the way, you have everybody out here has a chance to email him. He's got his own Twitter account and he's got his own email. Its email is msh7787@gmail.com. He has a Twitter account for his show, Nothing to Something. That's at NTS1248. Take a look at that. You can actually write to him. He will answer you. One of the things that in addition to that, um, we talked about you being a bully. We talked about the fact that obviously you were bullied. When you started to change, when you became or morphed into this person that at least I know you as, which is a good-hearted person, um, did you have people that you once bullied come to you and did you get a chance to say you're sorry? Did people see the change in you? Like, did they see any of that?
That's a really good question. I think maybe a few. I kind of pushed people out. I just wanted to deal with myself. And I realized, yes, I had to deal with myself at the time and figure out where I wanted to be. I mean, even though I was a little kid, I was in middle school, it's still a big part of your life. No matter where you are, what you're going through, it's still going to change you forever. You can be 6 and going through this, or you can be 20 and going through this. It doesn't matter how old you are. It just depends on your mindset and if you want to change. So to answer your question, yes, I have gone back and said sorry to them. I don't know if they took it to heart, but I have made friends with them again. And I won't name names, but this one person, she was like, oh, I really miss being good friends with you and stuff. And I was like, yeah, I'm really sorry about what I did. I was going through all this stuff. And she goes, that's crazy, because I'm going through the same thing too.
Wow.
And that's kind of why I pushed you away.
Wow.
And I said,
Wow.
wow, that's crazy. I had no clue. And she goes, yeah, we're more of the same. You just have to have the right mindset. So that was kind of one of the big instances where I thought, yeah, that really hit me home, to the point where I was like, yeah, that's how I want to think like her. I want to be nice to people.
Wow. And that speaks volumes to you and where your show is direction is going to be. I think that a lot of you out there that listen to Have Faith Let It Begin have an opportunity to really dive in on something new. We're taking the extra time here on this show to put you on the platform, not because I feel like I have to, it's because I want to, because I've
Mhm.
known you since you were, I don't want to say a toddler because that's inaccurate. I think it was like early teenage years, maybe like 9 and 10.
Yeah,
Your
yeah, just
brother,
about.
and because I was, but and I went through the depression. I went through dealing with that. I remember being in high school and going through the not knowing who I want to be in life. For me,
Mhm.
I can honestly say I wasn't bullied, but I think the bully was myself. I bullied myself because I had an insecurity about my weight. I had an insecurity
Mhm.
about being wanted to be accepted when I think deep down inside I already was. So there's all different types of avenues we can explore. But I think
Mhm.
what you're doing is bringing this to the forefront, and it's changing people because, like
Yeah.
I told you off record before we went on the air, I says, there are people out there right now in the podcasting industry, with all due respect to them, they're talking about things that they've heard. They're spewing out stories that were shared to them. You're
Mhm.
sharing your story. You're sharing others' real stories,
Mhm.
and you're going to have people on the show. And
Yeah.
that's amazing. That's amazing. So yeah, I mean, I think this is something that we encourage everybody out there to listen to. I think that I'd love to have you on this show to talk about other things. Another topic. Maybe we'll talk about something fun and exciting, and kind of go back and forth. I'd love to have you on here as a regular. And
Oh, I'd
and
love to come back. It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah, definitely. And we already spoke already off the record. For everybody out there that's never known this, or that if you followed my journey, I have never been interviewed since I started the podcast. So I have officially asked, Matt, if he would interview me. So I will be eventually interviewed by Matt, which will only be exclusive on his channel. So you have to go to Nothing to Something to hear my very first actual interview. He's going to question, and I don't know what he's going to ask me, but I'm getting nervous because
Yep.
I'll be on the hot seat. But it'll exclusively be airing on your channel, your show, and then after a while, we'll eventually put it on ours. But if you want to hear it, whenever he's going to launch it, when we shoot it, you got to go and you got to subscribe. You got to be a follower.
It'll be on Nothing to Something, on available on all platforms.
That's it. Well, I mean, listen, it's been a joy talking to you. Right now we're shooting this right before the holidays, which will probably air after. But I want to wish you and your family a good holiday, and I hope that you continue to do what you need to do. And I'm here for you if you need help. And
Same here. Same here.
he's teaching me a lot. Because of him, we're able to do Zoom, and now this will be on YouTube. So hey, the power of youth and the power of technology works on our side. So, but yeah, I mean, listen. Anything else you want to add about your show? I give you time to plug your show. Go for it.
um, for me, one of my guests, my cousin, he said something. It's called "Fight the Fight." Just keep fighting the fight, and that really struck me. Like, that's what we all have to do right now. I mean, with Corona and all this stuff going on, you just got to keep fighting the fight. There is no easy way out of it. If you give up, you're going to lose the fight. You just got to keep fighting. And sure, you may never win, but as long as you keep pushing forwards, that's what matters.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Well said. Couldn't say it any better than you just put it, folks. I thank you so much for taking the time to listen to us. For those of you on YouTube, it's great to actually be seen, and it's great to share the screen today with Matt H. Again, Nothing to Something. It is. And what is the time frame? We didn't touch base on that. Are you still working on when you're going to have your episodes?
So my episodes are, I'm planning to start officially going Tuesday, Thursday, and every other week on Saturday.
Okay. All right. So
So
we'll
if
plug that for
anyone is
now.
interested,
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday, and sometimes Saturday.
Right. And you know what? And for everybody out there, if you're not going to know when he's going to air unless you subscribe, you got to follow. So I encourage all of my Half Faith family, if you love this show, if you love what I produce for you, how could you not help produce an up and coming podcaster? I encourage each and every one of you to do so. And when you do, screenshot it and put it on his thing, put it on his Twitter, put it on my Twitter, and I'll send it to him and say, look how many people are subscribing. So we're going to have him back on the air. We're going to touch based on other different cool topics, and then go from there. All right. So
Awesome.
I leave you with this, man. May God be with you. May He bless you. May all of our viewers continue to receive the blessings. And to everybody out there, enjoy your day, and never forget, have faith, let it begin.